The human fleet never expected the attack to come so suddenly. For years, peace treaties had been signed across the stars, fragile agreements holding alien empires together. Then, without warning, the alarm screamed across the Terran defense. Command. Unknown ships appeared at the edge of the solar system, their hulls painted in glowing symbols that no human historian could translate. They came fast, cutting through satellites, striking outposts, and heading straight for the colonies. Captain Darius Holt stood inside the command bridge of the starship Valiant Dawn. His jaw tightened as the tactical maps flashed red. Reports poured in from every channel. Civilian ships were caught in ambush. Smaller defense patrols were crushed. What unsettled him most was not the speed of the assault, but the strange silence. The attackers made no demands, no announcements, no broadcasts. They came like predators, their weapons cutting down everything in their path. Amid the chaos, Darius remembered the strange warning they had ignored only months ago. A lone scout ship had intercepted a distress signal from a border system. The recording had been brief and broken. A voice that was not fully human nor alien had whispered, "The claws are coming." Command had dismissed it as static, a trick of deep space interference. But now, as he watched the enemy fleet advancing, Darius wondered if that voice had not been a warning but a plea. The Valiant Dawn prepared for its first engagement. Pilots scrambled into fighters, engineers rushed to load missile bays, and the ship's AI began plotting evasive routes. Darius moved to the viewport, staring at the darkness beyond. He had fought wars before, but this felt different. There was something alive in the way the enemy ships moved, like a hunting pack circling prey. Then the unexpected happened. Out of the blackness, one of the hostile ships broke formation and fired not at the humans, but at its own allies. The strike tore apart an enemy cruiser, and for a moment, the battlefield froze. No one understood why. Then came a second shock. From the wreckage of the crippled vessel, an escape pod ejected and sped toward the Valiant Dawn. Against the advice of his officers, Darius ordered the pod to be brought aboard. The Marines raised their rifles as the hatch hissed open. Inside, they found a figure crouched low, armored and breathing hard. At first, she looked human, but when the helmet retracted, gasps filled the hangar. Her face was marked with vivid stripes of orange and black, her eyes bright gold, her smile both sharp and strangely beautiful. She looked like a human sculpted with the power of a predator, her hair streaked with tiger patterns. She raised her clawed hand, not to strike, but to gesture for peace. Her voice was low, trembling yet strong. "I am not your enemy," she said. "I have betrayed my own kind to warn you. They will not stop until all your warmth, all your homes are consumed. But if you trust me, I will fight at your side." The crew stared at her in disbelief. Some muttered that it was a trick. Others whispered that she was the one from the intercepted signal. Darius studied her carefully. Her eyes held no deception, only a strange mixture of fear and fierce determination. He stepped forward, lowering his weapon. "You said the claws are coming," he replied. "What are they?" Her expression darkened. "They are my people," she confessed. "Warriors bred for conquest. Once I was one of them. But I chose another path. I will not see your kind fall to their hunger. I will fight with you if you let me." In that moment, a choice was made that would change not just the battle but the future of humanity. Darius extended his hand. The alien girl hesitated, then clasped it with her clawed fingers. Around them, the Marines lowered their weapons. The war had become something else, something far more personal. The alien girl was taken to the interrogation chamber, though Captain Darius refused to call it that. He ordered the guards to treat her with respect, not as a prisoner but as a guest. Still, the tension in the air was heavy. Every soldier in the room kept their hand close to a weapon. No one had ever seen a being like her so close, breathing the same air, speaking words in fluent human tongue. Her name was Rin. She said it softly, almost as though it carried shame. Darius asked her again and again why she had turned against her people, why she had chosen to defect in the middle of a battle. Her answers were simple, but behind them lay something deeper. "My people hunt warmth. she explained. "We believe it is life, the energy that binds flesh and soul. Your kind burns with it brighter than any I have seen. To my kind, that makes you a prize." The officers exchanged nervous looks. To them, her words sounded like a threat. But Darius heard something else. She spoke not like a warrior boasting of conquest, but like a woman warning of a storm. He asked her what she wanted in return for her help. Rin lowered her eyes. "I want to live. I chose to betray them because I saw another way. You call it kindness. My kind calls it weakness. I could not kill when I saw children fleeing from your colonies, so they marked me for death." The bridge went silent. The crew listened through the comm feeds, every word spreading like fire. An alien warrior, bred for killing, had spared human children and turned against her own kind. It was unthinkable, but the sincerity in her golden eyes made it hard to doubt. Darius knew they couldn't waste time. The enemy fleet was regrouping, outside, and they had already lost dozens of ships. If Rin truly meant to help, she needed to prove it fast. He ordered her brought to the fighter hangar. The moment she stepped inside, the pilots stopped what they were doing. Whispers spread, suspicion thick as smoke. Yet Rin ignored their stares. She walked with silent confidence, her striped face glowing in the cold hangar lights. She examined the Terran starfighters with sharp curiosity, her clawed fingers brushing the metallic wings. "These machines," she said at last, "are powerful, but lack instinct. My people fly with their hearts, not their hands. You train to follow patterns, they train to break them. That is why you are losing." Her words stung, but Darius saw the truth in them. He asked her to demonstrate, and though his officers objected, he overruled them. Within minutes, Rin climbed into the cockpit of a training craft. The systems resisted her touch at first, but soon the screens lit up as if the ship recognized her determination. What followed left the pilots speechless. She maneuvered the fighter like a predator in the wild, twisting, diving, and striking, in ways that broke every standard protocol of human flight. She did not fly with caution, but with grace and aggression, like claws cutting through prey. When she landed, the hangar erupted in shouts, some in awe, others in anger. One young pilot spat on the floor. "She's going to get us all killed." "We can't trust her," but Darius silenced them with a look. "You saw what I saw. If we do not learn from her, we will all be dead." That night, as the valiant Dawn prepared for the next assault, Darius made his decision. He assigned Rin as his co-pilot. The crew erupted in disbelief, but his voice carried the weight of command. "She fights for us now," he said firmly. "And if anyone doubts it, then you doubt me." Rin sat beside him on the command deck, her striped face illuminated by the glow of the controls. For the first time since the war began, Darius felt something stir inside him, a fragile thread of hope. But he also knew hope could be dangerous. Outside the viewport, the enemy ships formed again like a pack of hungry beasts. And this time the hunters would meet one of their own. The enemy fleet drifted like shadows on the edge of the stars. Dozens of predator-shaped vessels hung in silence, waiting for the signal to strike again. On the command deck of the Valiant Dawn, Captain Darius watched the tactical display flash with red markers. He knew they would not wait long. Beside him, Rin adjusted her suit, her claws tapping lightly on the console, as if she was listening to some rhythm only she could hear. The crew gave her cautious glances but said nothing. No one dared speak against the captain's order, though unease filled the air like static before a storm. "Your people?" Darius asked her quietly. "How do they begin their attack?" Her golden eyes narrowed. "They will send the hunters first. Small, fast ships built to bleed your defenses before the larger ones move in. They will not strike your engines. They will aim for your crew compartments. They want fear more than victory." The room fell still. Every officer understood the weight of those words. Fear was the sharpest weapon, sharper than any blade. Darius gave the order to prepare the intercept squadrons. When the alarm blared, the hangar filled with movement. Pilots strapped into their starfighters, engines roared, and fuel lines snapped free. Darius walked with purpose, but his eyes kept drifting toward Rin. She carried herself like a soldier, yet her presence felt different from any human he had known. There was strength, yes, but also something raw and untamed, as if the tiger marks on her face were not just skin but spirit. Moments later, the fighters launched into the void. Darius and Rin followed in the command ship, leading the line. The battle began with a sudden rush. Enemy hunters appeared from the darkness, their ships twisting unnaturally, like predators circling prey. Human pilots fired disciplined volleys, but the hunters broke formation with impossible speed, slipping past counterfire and striking at weak points. Just as Rin had warned, they were not fighting to win quickly. They were fighting to break courage. Pull them out of formation, Rin said sharply, her claws traced across the glowing map. Don't fight them as a wall, fight them as individuals. Make them chase you, not fear you. Darius trusted her instinct. He relayed the command. The pilots hesitated at first, then obeyed, breaking into smaller wings. The hunters followed, and for the first time, the Terran fighters turned the chase into a trap. Rin guided them like a predator herself, calling maneuvers the humans had never heard. On the comms, a young pilot shouted with amazement, "I got one. I actually got one." Another followed with a cheer as an enemy ship burst into flames. For a moment, hope flickered, but the enemy was not finished. Larger vessels began to advance, their weapons charging. The deck of the Valiant. Dawn trembled as blasts rocked its shields. Sparks rained from the ceiling. Alarms wailed. "Shields are failing," shouted the chief engineer. Darius steadied his voice. "Target their lead ship. All weapons on my mark." But before he could finish, Rin leaned close, her voice low and urgent. "No. Strike the second ship. The leader is bait. The second controls the hunt." The crew looked at her in disbelief, but Darius made the choice in a heartbeat. "Target the second ship. Fire." A storm of missiles and laser fire streaked across space. The second vessel exploded in a blinding flash. Immediately, the enemy formation broke apart, confusion spreading like cracks in ice. Rin's prediction had been exact. The Terran fleet roared forward, pressing the advantage. For the first time, the hunters were thrown off balance. Humanity had struck a wound in the heart of the enemy. On the bridge, cheers erupted. Darius allowed himself a rare smile. He turned to Rin, who sat calm and silent, her golden eyes fixed on the stars. She looked more dangerous and more beautiful than ever, like fire wrapped in flesh. In that moment, Darius understood something. This war would not be won by numbers or firepower. It would be won by instinct, by the bond between predator and prey, and by the strange alliance he had just forged. The battlefield fell quiet, but the silence was heavy. Wreckage floated across the void, glowing fragments spinning like dying stars. The Valiant Dawn drifted among them, its hull scarred but still holding. The crew exhaled with relief, though none believed the danger was truly over. Victories came, rarely, and they never lasted. Darius stood at the viewport watching the ruins of the enemy ships. His reflection in the glass showed tired eyes, yet beside him, Rin looked untouched, her golden gaze steady, as if destruction was nothing new. He wondered how many times she had stood among burning fleets before betraying her kind. "Do not celebrate too early," Rin said softly. "This was only the first strike. They will come again, stronger. They will not forgive me for turning against them." Her words carried weight, and the bridge crew shifted uneasily. Still, some of them began to see her differently. She was no longer just a prisoner or a stranger. She had saved them in the heat of battle. Doubt remained, but respect began to grow. Later, in the War Council chamber, Darius gathered his senior officers. Holograms flickered to life, showing the spread of enemy fleets across human colonies. Red markers outnumbered blue, each one a wound on the map of the galaxy. The enemy had momentum and humanity was barely holding the line. "We can't fight them everywhere," one officer argued. "We must pull back, protect the core worlds." "Retreat is death," another countered. "If we abandon the colonies, we lose food, resources, everything." The debate spiraled until Rin raised her clawed hand. The room stilled. She stepped forward, her striped face lit by the holograms. "You are fighting as prey," she said, bluntly. "Running, hiding, waiting to be devoured. My people expect this, they plan for it. If you want to survive, you must fight like predators. Choose one of their packs. Strike deep, strike hard, and make them bleed where they least expect it." Her voice was sharp, but her eyes burned with conviction. Darius studied her carefully. She was right. Humanity had been reacting, never leading. They needed more than defense. They needed to hunt back. When the meeting ended, Darius found himself walking with her through the dim corridors of the ship. The crew saluted him, but their eyes followed her with curiosity and wariness. She ignored it all, her steps silent, her posture proud. "You know them better than anyone," Darius said. "Why help us? Why risk everything when you could have stayed with your kind?" Rin hesitated. For the first time, her confidence cracked. "Because I saw something I had never seen before. When my fleet burned your colony, I saw a mother shielding her child. She had nothing, no weapon, no power. But she stood in front of death anyway. My kind would never do that. To us, only the strong live. But that woman, she was strong in a way I could not destroy." Her voice lowered. "I realized I did not want to be one of them anymore." Darius felt the weight of her confession. It was more than betrayal of her people. It was the birth of something new in her, a choice, a path. As they reached the hangar, the alarm sounded again. A scout ship had picked up new signals, larger enemy fleets moving closer, preparing for a full assault. Panic rippled through the crew. Rin's golden eyes hardened. "They are coming for me," she said. "They will not stop until I am ash, beneath the stars. But if you let me lead, I will turn their hunt against them. I will show you how to strike the heart of the claws." Darius met her gaze. He saw no fear, only determination. He knew this was the moment. If he trusted her fully, humanity might gain a chance it had never had before. If he refused, the war would drown them all. He gave his answer with a single nod. "Then you will lead." The valiant Dawn floated in the shadow of a dying star, its shields flickering as engineers worked tirelessly to repair battle damage. Inside, the atmosphere was tense. Word had spread that Captain Darius had placed the alien girl at the center of their next mission. To many it felt like madness. To others it was their only chance. Rin stood before the War Council, the glowing map of enemy fleets hovering above her. She pointed with a clawed finger to a cluster of red symbols deep in hostile territory. "This is their breeding nest," she said. "Not just ships, but living forges where young hunters are raised and ships are grown. They believe it untouchable, hidden by gas storms and nebulae. If you strike here, you will wound them in a way they cannot ignore." Gasps filled the room. Attacking so deep into enemy space sounded like suicide. The council erupted in protest. "We can barely hold our borders," one officer shouted. "You would send us into their den?" "She is tricking us," another accused, "leading us into a trap." Rin didn't flinch. She held her head high, her golden eyes burning. "If I wanted you dead, I would not have saved you in battle. I am offering you the only way to live. Strike them where they believe they are strongest, and you will shatter their hunt." The council turned to Darius. His face was unreadable as he listened to the arguments. He had learned long ago that wars were not won by playing safe. He raised his voice firm and calm. "We cannot win by waiting for them to come. If what she says is true, this may be the only chance to shift the war. We go." The decision was made. The room fell silent, heavy with fear and anticipation. That night, Darius found Rin in the hangar, standing beside the sleek fighter she had flown during training. She ran her claws over the hull as though feeling the heartbeat of the machine. He approached quietly. "You know the risks," he said. She gave a small smile, sharp and sad. "I was born for risk, but now I fight not for conquest, but for survival. Perhaps even for something more." Darius studied her in the dim light. For all her alien features, there was a strange familiarity in her posture, in the way she looked at him. She was a warrior, but she carried wounds no scars could show. He realized then that she was not only leading them into battle, she was trying to find a place where she belonged. Before he could speak, the alarm interrupted. Scouts had detected enemy patrols moving closer. Their time was short. The fleet prepared for the long jump into hostile space. Crews strapped in, weapons loaded, engines charged. The Valiant Dawn shuddered as the jump drive activated, tearing them through the void. When they emerged, the sight before them stole the breath from every human throat. The nebula burned in shifting colors, gas storms twisting like serpents of fire and lightning. Within that storm, massive alien structures pulsed with life, glowing like beating hearts. Ships moved in swarms around them, patrolling the nest. "This is it," Rin said quietly, almost reverently. "The cradle of the hunt." The crew stared in awe and fear. To strike here was unthinkable, but Darius knew there was no turning back. "Prepare, all wings," he ordered. "We hit fast and hard. Make every shot count." As the fighters launched, Rin leaned closer to him, her voice low enough that only he heard. "When this is over, your people will not see me as one of you, but perhaps you will." Darius met her gaze. For a heartbeat, the war, the fear, and the mission faded. He saw only her, fierce, beautiful, dangerous, and yet strangely human in the way she sought connection. Then the first enemy patrols spotted them. The alarms blared. The nest had awakened. The nebula flared with storms of light as the Valiant Dawn and its escorts broke formation. Enemy ships swarmed like hornets disturbed in their hive. The first volleys of fire struck hard, rattling shields and shaking the decks. Sparks rained down from the ceiling, but the humans held steady, their voices sharp across the comms. Darius sat in the command chair, his hands steady, his voice calm as he issued orders. But his eyes kept shifting toward Rin, seated beside him, at the co-pilot's station. Her claws danced across the glowing consoles with instinctive precision, guiding the ship through impossible maneuvers. "Left, 30 degrees, she snapped. The Valiant Dawn lurched, narrowly avoiding a barrage that would have torn through its engines. The crew gasped, realizing she had saved them again. Enemy hunters poured in tighter, weaving through the storm, their sleek hulls glowing with living energy. The human squadrons tried to hold formation, but Rin barked into the comms, her voice carrying authority. "Break apart. Fly as predators, not prey." For a moment, the pilots hesitated. Then they obeyed. The battlefield shifted. Human fighters stopped trying to act like shields and instead became hunters themselves, darting through the chaos, cutting into the enemy with sudden strikes. Cheers erupted as alien vessels burst into flames, but the victory was far from certain. Ahead, the massive structures of the breeding nest pulsed with light, launching wave after wave of reinforcements. The heart of the enemy throbbed with unnatural life. If they did not strike it down, the humans would be buried here. "Target the nest cores," Darius ordered. Weapons locked on the living forges. Missiles streaked into the storm, detonating in brilliant flashes. One core exploded, its energy collapsing in a cascade that shredded dozens of alien ships nearby. Rin bared her teeth in something between a smile and a snarl. "Yes, that is how you kill the hunt." The second strike came harder. Enemy cruisers unleashed beams that tore through the flank of a Terran destroyer. The screams of dying crew echoed across the comms. Darius's jaw tightened. He had seen death before, but it never grew easier. Then came the moment that changed everything. A colossal alien dreadnought emerged from the clouds, its hull carved, with glowing symbols. Its size dwarfed even the Valiant Dawn. It moved with terrifying grace, weapons glowing like suns. The crew froze in horror. "How do we fight that?" someone whispered. Rin's golden eyes gleamed. "You don't fight it head-on. You cut out its heart." She turned to Darius, her voice urgent. "Get me close. I can guide you to its weak point." It was madness, but Darius trusted her. He gave the order. Engines roared as the Valiant Dawn charged toward the dreadnought, weaving through a storm of enemy fire. Every hit rocked the ship. Metal screamed, alarms blared, and fires spread across the decks. Still they pressed on, Rin shouting course corrections, Darius keeping the crew steady with his calm commands. They broke through the enemy screen and closed on the giant vessel. Rin's claws slammed into the console. There! The ventral, seam where the living metal joins, strike now. All weapons, fire! Darius roared. A storm of missiles and plasma blasts tore into the dreadnought's seam. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then the ship shuddered violently, light spilling from its core. With a soundless explosion, it split apart, fragments scattering like burning worlds. The bridge erupted in cheers, but Rin remained silent, her eyes locked on the wreckage. They will remember this, she said. They will know it was me who guided the blade. Her voice carried no pride, only a quiet certainty. Darius saw it in her face, the truth she had not spoken aloud. Her people would hunt her until the stars themselves burned out, and now, by standing with her, so would humanity. The victory was theirs, but the war was far from over. The wreckage of the alien dreadnought drifted across the nebula like a broken crown. Flames still burned in the void, casting a red glow on the hull of the Valiant Dawn. For the first time in weeks, the humans had struck a blow that echoed across the stars. Yet inside the ship, the mood was far from triumphant. Darius walked the dim corridors, feeling the weight of every step. Repairs were underway, but the ship was bleeding. Engineers crawled through smoke-filled compartments, patching holes where enemy fire had torn through bulkheads. Medics rushed stretchers past him, their faces pale with exhaustion. Victory had come at a terrible cost. When he reached the hangar, he found Rin standing alone. Her striped face glowed in the cold lights, her golden eyes fixed on the drifting wreckage outside. She looked proud but also distant. You saved us again, Darius said quietly. She didn't turn to him. I saved myself as well. Do not forget that. My people will never forgive me. Their claws will reach farther than you know. Every time I strike with you, I burn another bridge back to them. Darius stepped closer. Maybe that's because you're not meant to go back. At last she faced him. Her expression was unreadable, fierce, yet strangely soft. And where do I belong, Captain? Among your people? Half of your crew would gladly throw me into space if you gave the order. Her words proved true the next day. In the mess hall, voices rose in anger. A group of officers confronted Darius, their faces hard with suspicion. She's manipulating you, one shouted. We lost 200 men out there, and you let her lead us deeper into hell. What if she's guiding us into a trap? She betrayed her own kind once? Another growled. What's to stop her from betraying us? The tension snapped when a young pilot slammed his tray down. My squad only survived because of her. You doubters weren't out there seeing her fly. Without her, we'd be dead. The mess hall erupted in shouts. Soldiers divided between loyalty and doubt. Fists almost flew until Darius himself entered. The room fell silent at his presence. His voice cut through the smoke like steel. She is under my command, he said. And if anyone questions her, you question me. Do you think I lead this fleet blind? Do you think I cannot see danger when it stares me in the eye? No one dared answer. The officers lowered their eyes, but their mistrust lingered. Later, Rin found him in the war room. She had heard the arguments, the shouting, the anger. She crossed her arms, her claws tapping against her armor. You defend me too often, she said. Because you've earned it, Darius replied. Not in their eyes, they will never trust me. Even if I win them battles, they will still see the stripes on my skin, the claws on my hands. Darius studied her carefully. Then you win my trust. And maybe that will be enough. For a moment, silence hung between them, broken only by the hum of the ship's engines. Then, for the first time since she had boarded the Valiant Dawn, Rin allowed herself a small laugh. It was low, rough, but real. You humans, she said. You fight wars with fire, yet your strength lies in something else. You burn brighter not because of your weapons, but because of how you stand for one another. That is why I stay. Her words echoed in his mind long after she left. For all the doubts and fears, Darius knew this much was true. Without her, their fire would already be extinguished. Still, suspicion simmered in the fleet. He could feel it like cracks in a wall, waiting for pressure to break it apart. And somewhere, in the shadows of the nebula, he knew the enemy was already gathering for their next strike. The Valiant Dawn drifted in dark space, its engines low, hidden from enemy patrols. Repairs continued, but the ship was strained, every deck buzzing with tension. Though the crew had survived the nest strike, distrust spread like poison. Whispers followed Rin everywhere she walked. She could feel the eyes on her back, the hands hovering near sidearms whenever she entered a room. Captain Darius knew the danger wasn't only out there in the stars, it was inside his own ship. Suspicion bred mutiny. That night, while he reviewed battle reports in the war chamber, the alarm blared. Security rushed in, dragging 2 junior officers who had been caught trying to sabotage the hangar doors. Their plan had been simple: trap Rin's fighter inside, so she could not fly again. When confronted, one spat at the captain's boots. "She'll lead us all to death," the officer snarled. "Better to end it now." Darius's eyes turned cold. He ordered them confined, but he felt the crack widening. If he lost control, the fleet would fracture before the next battle even came. Meanwhile, Rin sat in the training hall watching young pilots run simulations. The flicker of holographic ships danced around her. She spoke little, but her golden eyes followed every move, sharp and calculating. Some avoided her gaze, but others, especially the younger ones, looked to her with quiet respect. She had saved them more than once, and they could not deny the truth of her skill. Still, enemies remained. When the lights dimmed, a figure stepped from the shadows of the hall. A blade flashed in his hand, aimed for her heart. Rin moved faster than thought. Her claws clashed with steel, sparks flying. She twisted, disarmed him, and slammed him against the wall in a single breath. Her chest heaved, but she did not strike the killing blow. Instead, she held him pinned, her eyes burning. "Is this your honor?" she hissed, striking from the dark like a coward. The man trembled under her grip until guards rushed in. He was dragged away, but his last words echoed in the hall. "You'll never be one of us." Later, Darius confronted her in private. She sat alone in the observation deck, staring into the endless black. "They won't stop," he said quietly. "The more victories you win, the more they'll fear you." Her shoulders tensed. "I am used to being feared. It is not new to me. But I did not think I would feel the sting when it came from those I chose to protect." Darius stepped closer, lowering his voice. "Not everyone fears you. Some are learning. I am learning. You've given us hope when we had none. That matters more than their fear." Her golden eyes met his, and for the first time, she let the mask of strength slip. A flicker of pain, of loneliness passed across her face. "Hope," she whispered. "It is a dangerous thing. It burns brighter than fire, and fire always consumes." Before Darius could answer, the bridge alarms cut through the silence. An enemy signal had been detected, one far stronger than before. The claws were coming in force, hunting not just the humans but her. The crew rushed to stations, ships scrambled, weapons charged, but even as orders flew across the comms, Darius noticed the quiet steel in Rin's voice when she stepped to his side. "They will come for me first," she said. "They cannot allow a traitor to live. But if I can draw them in, you can strike them where they are weakest." He looked at her, the weight of the decision heavy on his chest. To use her as bait was unthinkable, yet she offered it freely as if it was the only path left, and in her eyes he saw the truth. Whether the crew trusted her or not, she was ready to bleed for them. The fleet hung in silence, hidden among the shattered rocks of a dead world. Engines hummed low, weapons primed, every soldier waiting for the order. Tension coiled like a blade about to strike. They all knew what this battle meant. If they failed, here, there would be no second chance. On the bridge of the Valiant Dawn, Rin stood beside Darius, her armor gleaming in the dim light. Her golden eyes burned, steady and unflinching, but he could see the weight pressing behind them. She had volunteered to draw the enemy in, to make herself the target, and he had agreed. It was the only way. "You don't have to do this," Darius said quietly. She turned her striped face toward him, her voice calm. "I do. My people will not stop until I am erased. If I run, they will chase me forever. If I fight, I can end the hunt here. With you." Her words carried a strange finality. Darius wanted to argue, but the truth in her eyes silenced him. He reached out, resting his hand over hers on the console. For a moment, warrior and captain stood together in stillness, two lives tied by a war neither had chosen. The alarm broke. The silence. Enemy ships appeared on the scanners, an entire armada, larger than anything they had faced. At its center loomed a vessel unlike the rest, a flagship, monstrous in size, its surface glowing with living runes. It was not just a warship. It was a throne of the hunt carrying the High Fang herself, ruler of Rin's people. The crew stared in dread. They had heard legends of the High Fang, the one whose claws had torn empires apart. And now, she had come to claim her wayward daughter. Rin's voice was steady. "She comes for me. When she sees me, she will strike without caution. That is when you must break her." The plan unfolded quickly. Rin took a fighter, sleek and deadly, its cockpit glowing under her touch. The hangar bay trembled as it opened to the stars. The pilots saluted her, some with respect, others with fear, but none spoke against her. She launched into the void, a lone spark against the oncoming storm. The enemy armada moved as one, and the flagship surged forward when Rin's fighter came into view. A chilling broadcast filled the comms, a voice sharp as razors. "Rin," the High Fang hissed. "My traitor child, you dare stand against the hunt?" Rin's reply was simple. "I dare to be more than your claws." The battle erupted. The Valiant Dawn and its escorts unleashed a storm of fire, tearing into the enemy's flanks. Human fighters darted through the chaos, striking from angles Rin had taught them. Explosions painted the nebula with fire. Rin led the charge, weaving through enemy lines with impossible speed, drawing the flagship closer and closer into the trap. Her claws gripped the controls, her teeth bared in fierce determination. Every move she made was a dance of defiance, each strike a reminder that she no longer belonged to them. But the enemy's fury was overwhelming. Beams scorched past her fighter, one striking close enough to tear through her wing. Warning lights screamed, but she held steady, refusing to fall. On the Valiant Dawn, Darius barked orders, his heart pounding as he watched her on the monitors. He had trusted her before, but this was different. This was her against her blood, her clan, her own mother of war. At last, the flagship pushed forward, chasing Rin with blind rage. Darius gave the order. "All batteries, fire on the flagship." Now, the fleet unleashed everything. Missiles, plasma, railguns, every weapon roared. The flagship's shields buckled, then cracked under the barrage. Flames spread across its hull. Still it pressed on, clawing toward Rin, unwilling to release its prey. Inside her cockpit, she whispered a vow only she could hear. "I am not yours. I am his." The final strike loomed. The flagship burned against the nebula's glow, its hull cracking under the relentless fire of the Terran fleet. Yet still it advanced, drawn by fury, unwilling to release its prey. Rin's fighter danced before it, weaving through blasts of energy, each maneuver tearing at her strength. Warning lights screamed across her cockpit, but her golden eyes stayed, locked on the beast behind her. On the Valiant Dawn, Captain Darius stood firm, his hands gripping the railing. He felt every strike against their shields, every cry from wounded ships in the fleet. His voice carried calm through the chaos, but his heart pounded with one thought only. Rin must survive. "Keep the flagship in the kill zone," he ordered. The trap was closing. Human destroyers circled the monstrous vessel, pounding it from every angle. Its shields faltered, cracks spreading like veins of light. But the High Fang's voice tore through the comms, cold and merciless. "Rin, my daughter, of the hunt, come home. and I will end your suffering. Defy me, and I will tear your warmth from your bones. Rin's answer was a growl, fierce and unshaken. I am no one's prey, not yours, not ever. With those words, she pushed her crippled fighter into a dive, streaking beneath the flagship's armored belly. Her claws flew over the controls, guiding the ship into a narrow seam that only she could have known existed. She loosed her missiles at point-blank range. The explosion ripped through the flagship's core. Fire cascaded along its spine, tearing through its living metal. The vessel screamed, a sound felt rather than heard, as if the beast itself knew it was dying. In moments, the throne of the hunt split apart, breaking into 1,000 burning shards that tumbled into the storm. The battlefield froze. Enemy ships scattered in disarray, their formations crumbling without command. One by one, they fled into the darkness, leaving only wreckage behind. Humanity had survived. The hunt was broken. On the valiant dawn, cheers erupted. Soldiers embraced, pilots shouted over comms, relief flooding like water over drought. For the first time, they had won not just a battle, but a turning point in the war. But Darius's eyes searched the stars for one thing only: Rin's fighter. At last, the battered craft limped toward the hangar, smoke trailing from its ruined wings. The crew rushed to meet it, medics sprinting with stretchers. When the cockpit opened, Rin climbed out unassisted, her armor scorched, her claws blackened, yet her eyes still burning with life. The hangar fell silent as she stepped down. Soldiers who had once doubted her now stared with awe. She had faced her own people and destroyed their queen. She had saved them all. Darius pushed through the crowd, stopping before her. For a moment, words failed him. Then he reached out, steady and sure. You're one of us now. Rin looked at his hand, then at his face. Slowly, she placed her clawed fingers in his, gripping tight. Her voice was low but clear. No. I am more than one of you. I am yours. The hangar erupted in applause, not just for victory, but for the bond forged between alien and human, predator and prey, captain and co-pilot. Later, as the fleet sailed through the quiet stars, Darius and Rin stood together on the observation deck. Outside stretched endless darkness, but for the first time it felt less like a void and more like a horizon. She leaned closer, her voice softer now. You tease me with warmth, with cuddle claws, as you call them. And now, I steal it, every night. Darius allowed himself a rare smile. Then steal all you want. I'll never take it back. In the silence of space, the war was not yet over. But together they had lit a fire that even the claws could not extinguish. And as long as that fire burned, humanity would never stand alone.